Every man has felt this moment creeping in. You show up with your whole heart. You give effort, honesty, consistency. You pour into her the way you wish someone would pour into you. And somehow, instead of feeling chosen, you begin to feel like a backup plan. But here's the real truth most men never see. She doesn't value you because you give more. She values you when you stop doing the one subtle thing that quietly lowers your worth without you even realizing it. Today we uncover that hidden behavior, and the 4 Stoic principles that restore your respect, your clarity, and your inner strength. Welcome to Become Stoic. To our loyal subscribers, you are the heart of this brotherhood. If you're new, like, share, and subscribe. We dive into human nature and the psychology of female attraction. Let's get into it. 1. Stop over-explaining yourself. Nothing weakens your presence faster. When you keep explaining, defending, or justifying every little thing, you don't look thoughtful, you look unsure. And women do not trust uncertainty. They don't lean into a man who feels like he's trying to prove himself with every sentence. Seneca said, "A man is not moved by events, but by the view he takes of them." And that's the point. When you constantly explain yourself, what you're really saying is, "Please understand me. Please approve of me." That energy makes you feel less like a man she can rely on and more like background noise she can ignore. But the moment you stop over-explaining, everything shifts. You become clear. You become steady. You become a man who acts, not a man who needs permission to act. You make decisions without looking over your shoulder for validation. And suddenly she pays attention. Suddenly your choices carry weight. Suddenly you're no longer blending into the background. You're the structure, the frame, the thing that holds everything together. 2. Stop being available every second of the day. A woman naturally places more value on what she can't access whenever she wants. When you give her unlimited access to your time, your attention, and your presence, you unintentionally remove the mystery that makes a man feel intriguing. You take away the sense of value that comes from a man who has a life he is committed to. A woman cannot truly appreciate a man who abandons his own world just so he can respond instantly. Marcus Aurelius said, "A man's worth is measured by the worth of what he values." If you place her above your personal goals, your peace, your routine, or your mission, she will feel that shift. And without even trying, she begins to move you down her priority list, because a man who gives up his entire life for her becomes too predictable and too easy to reach. But when you gently pull back, not out of anger, not to play games, but with intention, everything changes. You focus on your work again. You reconnect with your goals. You give energy to the things that build you up. And suddenly, the space you create becomes noticeable. Her world gets slightly quieter. Your absence becomes its own message. She starts thinking about where you are, what you're doing, and why she feels your distance. And that's when she begins to miss you. Not because you disappeared, but because you finally showed that your life matters too. A man who invests in his purpose, in himself, in his growth, is the man she naturally wants to invest in. 3. Stop trying to fix everything. She doesn't want a mechanic for her emotions. She wants a man who can be there without taking over. When you jump in to solve every frustration, every mood, every fear she shares, you don't come across as supportive. You come across as smothering. It makes her feel like you don't trust her ability to handle her own life. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly." That includes her emotions, her thoughts, her reactions, her healing. These things take time, and they are hers to navigate. When you stop trying to repair every crack the moment it appears, she starts to feel something powerful: respect. She feels seen instead of managed, heard instead of handled. And something even more important happens. She sees you as emotionally steady, a man with calm, grounded energy she can rely on. Not a man collapsing into panic every time she feels something intense. Women don't fall in love with rescuers. They fall for the man who listens without rushing, who offers clarity instead of control, who remains centered even when her emotions rise and fall. Because when you stop fixing everything, you give her the room to trust you. Not because you saved her, but because you stayed strong enough to let her save herself, with you standing steady beside her. 4. Stop fighting for her attention. Your presence matters, but your absence often speaks louder than anything you can say. Nothing lowers your value faster than chasing attention that she's not freely giving. The more you push, the more she feels pressured. And the more she feels pressured, the quicker she steps back. Stoicism teaches, what stands in the way becomes the way. When you chase, beg, question, or demand emotional reassurance, you unconsciously push her further away. It sends a message you don't realize you're sending: my worth depends on how much you notice me. That energy makes you feel smaller in her eyes, not because you are small, but because you're acting from need instead of self-respect. But when you stop, everything changes. When you stop monitoring every text. When you stop feeding anxiety with overthinking. When you stop reacting emotionally to her silence. When you stop trying to prove your value through constant messages, explanations, or presence, your energy shifts. And that shift is powerful. Why? Because silence opens a door. Space creates room for her thoughts to return to you. Curiosity begins to grow where pressure once lived. And curiosity is the birthplace of attraction. When you stop filling every gap with your effort, she starts to feel the distance. She starts to notice the quiet. She starts wondering what changed, what you're focused on, why you're not orbiting around her like before. And that's when the dynamic flips. She starts reaching out first. She starts checking on you more. She starts responding faster, caring deeper, and investing again, because the man who does not beg for attention becomes the man who commands it naturally. Women don't value the man who chases endlessly. They value the man whose presence is strong and whose absence is felt. Here's the real truth most men never understand. You don't become more important in her life by giving endlessly. You don't earn her respect by trying harder, doing more, or proving yourself over and over. You rise in her life by removing the behaviors that make you look replaceable. When you stop over-explaining yourself, you communicate certainty instead of insecurity. When you stop being available every moment, you show that your life has weight and direction. When you stop trying to fix every emotion she has, you show emotional discipline instead of desperation. When you stop chasing after her attention, you show strength instead of anxiety. And that's when everything begins to shift. Because the moment you let go of those self-sabotaging habits, something powerful happens. Your value rises. Your presence becomes felt, not ignored. Your absence becomes meaningful, not forgotten. Your respect returns, not because she suddenly changed, but because you did. She begins to look at you differently. She listens more. She pays attention to your actions. She treats you with a level of seriousness and care she didn't show before. Not because you forced her to, not because you begged for it, but because she can feel the change in your energy, and women respond to energy more than words. When a man prioritizes himself, his time, his peace, his mission, she naturally begins to prioritize him too. Women always give their best to the man who treats himself like he matters. Always. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. You don't want to miss out on more fun and educational videos on this channel. This channel is for you, so make sure you subscribe.